So, as you know, my name is Peter Hopwood, and what I do is very simple. I am a communications consultant and public speaking pitch coach. So I help startups, I help small businesses, I help individuals to literally present better, okay? To present their ideas more concisely, more clearly, and with impact. So startups, yesterday we saw we saw about 60 different, with investors, we saw about 60 different pitches. Some were great, some were good, and others perhaps not so good. For the next 25 minutes or so, I will be sharing with you some ideas, tips, and techniques that will help you as a startup, that will help you even as an entrepreneur, even if you're not a startup, as somebody in business, somebody who has to get their message across using their body language, using their voice. Okay, I will give you some tips that everybody in this room can actually learn. Now, the great thing is, techniques for public speaking or improving your pitch, every single person can do. This is not a talent. Many people think it's a talent and you're really good at it because that's what you were kind of born a good public speaker. That's not true at all. All the techniques that I'm about to give you, okay, and many others as well, these are all things that people can learn, okay? You do them, and that will increase your chances. Will it win you investment? Perhaps not, okay? Will it win you this competition? Perhaps not, all right? But what it will do, it will increase your chances of success, okay? Increase your chances of success. Okay, the very first thing, you got to think to yourself, what do you want people to do when they see you? You need them to trust you. It's all about trust, okay? As soon as I came on here, you've already seen me yesterday and today, but the first time you saw me come on stage, already you're judging me. Already you're judging by the way, what you're judging what I say. You're judging how my body moves, my shape, okay, what I'm wearing. You're already judging me. And it's one of three things, okay? You either like me, okay? You either like me, you don't like me. Either you don't like me, okay? You're not interested, you don't want to really get engaged with me while I'm on stage. Or the third one, which is probably the most common one, it's being indifferent. You don't really care, okay? However, when somebody comes on stage, as an audience member, if I was to give you the choice of which one of those three you would like to be feeling by the end of the pitch, let's say, you'd probably choose the first one. You want to like the pitch, you want to like the pitcher, and you want to feel good afterwards, okay? So our job as a speaker on stage while you're pitching is really to get your audience swaying from indifference to liking you. Now, how are you going to do that? There are many small techniques you can do, okay? The first thing you see when you look at me, what do you see? You see my whole body. So it's really important that you've actually got an open space. Excuse me. You've got an open space in front of you, so no barriers. Sometimes we see podiums. Sometimes we see people with their hands in front of them like this. Okay, we need this area here. Okay, this navel area, we need that to be as open as possible, so you can see that I'm not hiding anything. Also, you can see the palms of my hand. Maybe not with this hand, because I've got the microphone in it, but this one here, you certainly see the palm of my hand. So that shows you, again, that I've got nothing to hide. It goes back to when we were cavemen, okay? And so not seeing somebody's hands, palms of the hands, meant perhaps he's got a weapon. Perhaps he's not a friend. He's more likely a predator or a foe or an enemy. Okay, so it's really important that people see your body, that people see this area, your stomach, okay, and also your palms of the hand. Okay. Right, managing nerves. Who here, can you tell me, can you just put your hand out if you have felt a little bit of anxiety, at least, when you've had to speak in public? Hands up. I'm sure maybe some of you are not putting your hands up, but I know that most of you feel anxiety. I arrived in Turkey 2 days ago, and when I first saw the stage, I still felt a little bit of anxiety, okay? I still get nervous. I go to a lot of conferences, present at a lot of places, and the bigger they are, the more nervous I actually get. However, There's a sense of excitement as well. So what you have to do, you have to manage the nerves. The nerves will never go away. But what you can do, you can manage them and you can reduce them. Okay? Manage them and reduce them. Now, how do you do that? There are many different techniques and different things people do. What I tend to do, I like to visualize. So in my head, I've already got it kind of planned out how it's going to go, roughly. I've done it many times, so I've got the kind of benefit of that. But you guys, perhaps, who haven't done it so many times, don't have the benefit of that, all right? So, however, what you have to do, you have to think to yourself, plan it through how it's going to go. You're going to feel confident. You're going to stand there. There's nobody else in this room. When you pitch a little bit later on, those of you startups in the room, when you pitch a little bit later on, just think to yourself, there is nobody else in this room. There's nobody else in this room that has the passion or the knowledge of what you're about to say, okay? The concept is yours. This is your 5 minutes of fame, and it's certainly up to you, okay? There are many different startups, many different ideas. There are many ideas which are the same. You might think your idea is completely unique, but probably the chances are somewhere in a neighboring country or maybe halfway across the world, somebody else is doing the same thing. But what are you going to do, or what's going to make you different? What is going to make you different and stand out? Your communication, okay? Remember that. It's our communication that makes us different, okay? Many different ideas, many ideas that are the same, okay? But if you can have, if you've got strong communication, okay, that will increase your chances. Performance. Now, a lot of people say, you know, are you acting on stage? Is it a performance? Are you being true to yourself? Is it really you? I'm going to tell you a few things about that, okay? Now, when you stand on stage in front of, let's say, 300, 400 people, that is not a natural feeling, is it? That's not a natural thing to do, okay? So when we talk about being authentic, doing that on stage in front of so many people, the feelings we get are completely different from the feelings we have when we speak to somebody face to face, don't we? Okay? Let's put it this way. Can you think back to when you went on your first date? Can you think back? I look at you, some of you smile. I don't know whether that's actually something good or maybe you didn't have a great first date. However, it's like being on a date. What do you have to do? You have to be the best you can be at that particular time, yeah? You've got to be the best. You've got to look good, okay? When you're with a lady or with a guy, you're not being false. You're not being somebody completely different. But what you are being is yourself, but the best kind of version of yourself, all right? And to do that, you really need to think about how your body's going to move and how your voice is going to come out and how it's going to be portrayed. One other thing which is really important as well, when you stand in front of a crowd, all right, actually, I'll tell you a story. When I first started doing public speaking and presenting workshops to small crowds, and then they got bigger and bigger, I kind of expected the crowd to react, to give me the signals that I'm actually doing well. Okay? That would be great, wouldn't it? If I told a joke or I said something and you all smiled and you laughed, and that would be your signal to me saying, yes, I kind of accept this. This is good. And that would kind of tell me, yes, I'm actually doing it right, and give me more confidence, all right? Do not think that your audience will always give you the signals, the positive signals back, all right? If I was to, for example, right now, if I was to take in the signals that I'm getting back from you right now, I probably wouldn't have too much confidence going forward. Some of you on your mobile phones, which is absolutely fine because you've got other priorities. You've had lunch, you're feeling a bit drowsy, your energy levels are kind of low, and that's absolutely fine. So that's absolutely fine. So what do you have to do yourself when you come on stage? You have to dictate exactly how it's going to go. You yourself have to show out, have to convey that energy and that passion about the subject you know best in the room, okay? Once you do that, okay, that will pass on the energy to the people in the room. Although they may not show it. They may not give you back the signals. It doesn't matter, okay? You have to think to yourself, Okay, this is me. I'm going to project this through my body language, through my voice, and through what I'm going to say. All right, remember that. A lot of us get kind of put off because people maybe, you can see people that are not listening, or because then why should they listen? Why should they listen? It's up to you to get them to engage. It's up to you to keep them going through this, let's say now, half an hour session that I'm doing with you. Gestures and stance, okay? I talked about a little bit earlier on about the body, okay? So stance, how you stand is very, very important, okay? Really, really important indeed, all right? So let's say you put your legs apart like this, okay? That will make your body, the height of your body actually go down, okay? The idea is to be as tall as you can be. I'm quite a short man. I'm quite short, all right? However, I do make up for it in other ways. Quite short, and by putting my legs slightly together like this, at the same level as my shoulders, I then become tall. Inside, in my brain, I'm thinking I'm tall, I'm confident, I'm strong. And that's what you have to think as well, okay? What we see with a lot of speakers coming on stage, perhaps that don't have as much confidence as they could. Maybe their legs are like this, perhaps. Ladies tend to do this quite a lot. And another thing that actually females do quite often is when they speak, they put the weights on one leg, okay? Weight on one leg. Now, that's fine for a while, but what will happen after a while, then they'll just switch the weight onto the other leg, okay? And then as they get comfortable with that, they're thinking, well, hey, it's fine. I can just go back to the other leg. And then throughout the actual presentation, not as much as it's not actually the conga on stage. However, doing this is actually not a great positive thing to do. So again, I would recommend like this, simple stance, stuck to the floor, and using your body moving left and moving right, making sure this area here is pivoting you all the way, all right? And remember, shoulders straight, all right? The further your legs go apart, the shorter you go, and what also happens is your stomach, believe it or not, your stomach actually goes out, forward. It does. It goes actually forward, okay? So what you've got to do, you've got to bring that back like this and stand. Some people move around a lot. Some people get nervous. That's their way of kind of combating the nervousness or anxiety. What I suggest you do, if you do have that kind of anxiety in terms of movement, imagine you're just stuck to the floor, okay? Really simple, all right? And you can move around. And as you get more confident, then you can start thinking about how and when in your pitch you're going to start moving around. So when you're moving on to another subject, you move across to the other side. When you're starting to go on to something completely different and get a different gist of things with your message, go to the other side. What you can do when you start to get really confident, you start to mix things up a little bit more and take yourself off of the stage. It's certainly up to you, because what it will do, it will get your audience to remember what you do, okay? So remember, unpredictability is what you're after, okay? You mustn't be predictable. When we start becoming predictable in what we say, our voice, how we move, you as an audience member, when you listen, you start to become bored. It starts to become boring. When we know what's happening next, then we need to, if you know what's happening next, then you know that you're going to start to actually get bored and kind of get less engaged. But if you start with your voice, I'll talk about it in a minute, using variety in your voice, okay? Variety in your movement, okay? Variety in the speed of what you're saying, where you're going, what you're doing on stage. This altogether will help people remember you, and you'll also stand out from the rest. Remember, 60 pitches is a lot of pitches. It's a lot, isn't it? Okay? A lot of them, I think you'll agree with me, pretty much the same. So somehow you have to be different, unpredictable. I was even thinking, as the host, to do something a little bit different. I looked up above there on the balcony. I thought to myself, I might go up there a little bit later on and just present somebody from up there. Shall I go up there? Would you like to see me up there? Or you don't care if I go up there? Right, never mind. I might go up there a little bit later on. Okay. Also, gestures, our gestures. So we really need to see the palms of our hands, okay? So when we're using gestures here, around this area, this kind of tells our audience members, or this gives the impression of trust, okay? Trusting what I'm saying, right? Trusting what the speaker's saying. Okay, so remember that. If you use gestures here, around this area, it gives a sense of trust. The higher they go, you're actually starting to get excited. You're exciting your audience, and you're trying to get more engagement from them as well. All right, so higher it goes, the more exciting you become. Your blood pressure actually goes up a little bit more as well. Okay, you can see often what I do when I speak, I'm leaning forward slightly. I'm often like this, as if I'm kind of running at you, kind of giving you something. Okay, rather than maybe standing back or bringing my shoulders backwards. Okay, which gives a sense of disengagement and not getting involved. Okay, so it's all about tension in the body. Giving tension, not in a negative way, but positive way. So the more tension you have, okay, the more energy you have as well. That energy you can get across to your audience members. But the less energy you give, the kind of the body language that you give, that doesn't really mean anything. And then you just relax, like this, or even like this, feeling relaxed. The energy level goes right down. However, if I've got a message that I really have to get through to you, and I want you to understand, and I want you to remember, what happens then? My body then becomes tense, and I move it in a way which is trying to get you to engage with me mentally, okay? What I want you to do is nod. I want you to agree and kind of internally nod with everything I'm saying, okay? I want you guys to think, well, yeah, that's right. I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, that's right. So pitches which are more successful than the others actually have more nods than the others. Remember that. Getting people to nod and agree with you, even if it means giving out something which is simple, clear, and obvious, it will get them on your side. Okay? Eye contact. Many people ask me about eye contact, and I'm sure you've got your own techniques for this as well, all right? When we look at somebody directly, okay, that's a connection. Okay, it's all about the connections while we're on stage. When you've got a large room like this with a lot of people, it's quite difficult to get those connections. Some of us feel anxiety levels going up when we look at somebody straight in the eye, okay? A technique to do, very simply, do you just look above the heads of the people? I'm looking across over here in the center, on the right, okay? I've really kind of made contact perhaps with a few of the first 2-3 rows, perhaps eye contact with these people, but the people at the back, I certainly haven't. However, I've given the impression that I'm looking at everybody or trying to look at as many people as I can in the room. A very good tip indeed when you're on stage about to pitch and your investors are here on your right. What do? You look at your audience, but clearly you look into the eyes of the people that are sitting there as well, the investors. The people you want to influence, you need to make that connection with them, okay? Also, with eye contact, I'm going to ask you to do something. If you look directly at me, okay, look directly at me, and focus completely on me, okay? Now, continue looking at me, but still try to focus on my left and focus on my right. Okay, so focus on me, but still look to the left and look to the right. So you've got a complete wide vision. Okay, after a while, that will actually start to make you feel more relaxed when you do that. Okay, so it's a very good tip. Certainly, if you feel anxiety levels are rising when you're on stage. So what you do, you look out, you don't actually focus on anything or anybody, but you have this peripheral vision across the room. And that will, after a while, it will make you feel more relaxed when you're on stage. Now, being concise. You ask any investor, okay, anybody who's serious about investing into somebody, into somebody's concept, okay, probably one of the most important characteristics or assets you can respect, okay, is time, okay, time. If you can respect the time of your pitch, that shows that you can respect everything else. You can respect the funding and everything else that's considered to go with it, okay? So it's really important during your pitch, okay, when you put it together, okay, every single word and phrase in that pitch, it really has to mean something. There has to be value in everything you say. If you say something twice, which means roughly the same thing, or 3 times, which means roughly the same thing, cut it out. Cut it out of your pitch. Okay, you don't need it. You only need the things that actually bring value to your presentation. Okay? Silence. Every single great presenter. So if you think of, I don't know, Barack Obama perhaps, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, okay, Martin Luther King, every single great speaker knows the importance of silence, of pauses in your pitch, okay? They are so powerful. So, why do we use silence? What's the value of silence? Now, when you say something which is really important, do this. Try to think about this. In your pitch, you've probably got 2 or 3 really important key messages that you want to convey, yeah? Really important messages. What you do, you say those a lot slower. You say those with more passion and energy, okay? And just when you've delivered that last word of that key message, you then pause. If you pause, what does that do? That gives your audience a very good chance to absorb the idea. You really need to let your audience absorb as much of as many messages as possible while you're pitching, okay? Some of us we speak a little bit fast. We're quite quick speakers. You need to bring it right down. You need to be slow. You need to speak slower than you do if you were speaking to somebody face to face, okay? And so what you can do, you can bring those pauses in, really bring it down really slowly and really get that message across and then pause. You can also do it the other way, where you start to speed up a little bit. You start to bring in the energy. You're bringing some momentum into the idea. And then suddenly, after a little bit of speaking for about 30 seconds or so, suddenly, you give them the message. Then you pause. Okay. You don't have to do this throughout your pitch. Just on the main messages. And where do the main messages come? Certainly at the beginning. Certainly at the end, okay? And a few in between as well. So remember, silence is good. Some people often think, they tell me, well, hey, doesn't that sound silly when I say nothing at all and we're all kind of waiting around? That's not the deal at all. When you're pitching, people need time to absorb the ideas. They need to listen to those ideas, think about those ideas, agree with them, the nods, as I said before, the nods, and then move forward. Now, your voice. Now, voice, unlike body movement, voice it's a split millisecond. As soon as you speak, the voice that comes, the pitch, the voice you have, what we hear, we're actually judged quicker by what we hear than what we see, okay? Using your voice during a pitch, very important indeed. If you bring your voice down, if you lower your voice, you actually convey more dominance, okay? So if you're a man and your voice is quite high, okay, when you speak like this, the dominance, there is no dominance, but when you start to bring it down, slowly. You don't have to bring it right the way down, but you just have to bring it slightly lower than it normally is. It will start to show or convey more dominance, more trust, and more credibility. Ladies, you are actually very, very good. You're better at doing this than men, at bringing down your voice, which is why, ladies, when you have a lower voice, you become a lot more sexy, apparently. So, ladies, again, when you do your pitch, bring your voice slightly low, bring it down slightly, okay? And that will show you, that will convey a little bit more dominance as well. Remember Margaret Thatcher? Quite a low voice, and she did it very, very well. Number 9, tell me a story. You've heard this before, you know what it's all about. It's all about stories, a strategic story. So taking them from one area, emotionally connecting with your audience, taking them on a short journey, and then giving the last wow at the end of your pitch. So a story at the beginning is really important. Again, it's all about you. It's all about you. Remember, afterwards, when you speak to an investor or speaking to somebody who's interested in your concept, okay? Again, having small anecdotes, small mini stories that maybe portray success. Or having another mini story that portrays an achievement. Or perhaps a struggle that you've overcome, okay? So remember, have at the back of your mind, 4 or 5 little stories that you can use and throw out when you start speaking to an investor or somebody that's interested in your concept. Okay, number 10, right? Call to action. This is something perhaps I didn't hear too much of yesterday. Hopefully we'll hear more of them today. But what is a call to action? A call to action in your pitch is basically you are telling your audience to do something. You've got to think clearly about what you want your audience to do. You've just spoken about your idea. You've just spoken about how wonderful and great you are and your product and your concept, okay? And then that's it. You need to give them something. You need to tell them to do something. Whatever that may be. That might mean subscribe. That might mean let's have a coffee afterwards and have a chat. Excuse me. That might mean doing something else right now. But you really always need them to do something, and you need to tell them there and then, okay? So many pitches I see at the end. Yeah, here are my details. You can email me later, and then we can set up a meeting, okay? Nobody is going to, if they're interested in what you're doing, if they're interested in your product, they want to meet you now. You're there and then. As soon as you get off stage, go for a coffee, have a chat. It's almost like a CV, isn't it? It's almost, a pitch is like a CV, like a kind of trying to influence somebody to get interested in what you're saying. That will lead on to something else, okay? It's kind of getting people just to be interested and curious, okay? So certainly in a pitch, you don't reveal everything. You do not reveal everything. You just reveal all the great things that gets people interested, curious. I want to know more about that. I've got some more questions I want to ask myself, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of that. Hopefully in there are a few things that could actually help you move forward, okay? Remember, all these techniques, these are all things you can all do. Okay, there are many, many more. If you're interested in learning some more techniques, if you want some more help, I can certainly help you. Okay, come and chat to me afterwards, and we'll see what we can do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and good luck to everybody who's pitching this afternoon. Thank you.